Good evening and welcome to the Kim B. Davis Show. I'm your host, Kim B. Davis, and we are live. Yes, we are still in the midst of COVID, but we are live with author, philosopher, mental health advocate, Kelly Greene. Good evening, Kelly. How are you?
How you doing, Kim? How's everything on your end?
Everything is great on my end. But you know what? I'm a little jealous right now because you have on this fantastic shirt that has
Oh,
your
thank
name and all your
you.
titles. It says author, philosopher, and Renaissance man. Tell us
Yeah,
about that.
thank you. Well, this came from when I first started getting into writing. I was sitting down with Fiat, and she was like, "What do you call yourself? What are three things you call yourself?" And I was thinking, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm an author. No, I said I'm a writer, blogger, philosopher, and a Renaissance man." And they say that's stuck. So you're a blogger, a philosopher, and a Renaissance man. I was like, "Yeah, that's me. I'm thoughtful. I'm ahead of the game a lot of times. I'm a Renaissance man. I'm a thinker. So I think it fits."
I think it does. And that's why you're our mental health advocate. And of course, I'm always happy to sit down with you and talk about mental health and current topics.
Absolutely.
So let's
Absolutely.
get to it. We are still talking about mental health during COVID. So you have been brave. And I've seen posts where you've been out amongst people and having a good time. How do you see people fearing with COVID? Do you see people being afraid? Do you see lots of confrontations like what we see in the media? And are people wearing their masks?
Uh, where I usually go, I see a lot of people wearing masks, and I'm like proud of my city when I see that. But I
Mm-hmm.
think a lot of people like to go to, like, I was at Belle Isle the other day, and a lot of people weren't wearing masks because everybody's observing. There's a lot of room at Belle Isle social distance, and so I think a lot of people were like at least 20 feet away from each other. And so that's part of my mental health. Me and my girl, we go down to Belle Isle, we sit, we watch the sunset, and we just talk. We get away from the TV, we get away from work, everything. We sit right there at the island, sit by the water, and we talk. So that's kind of our couples mental health thing, keep ourselves together.
Absolutely. That's a wonderful thing. I always tell people, especially during everything that's happening, there's so much from when you're dealing with the pandemic, from the federal level to the state and local level, to all the crazy nonsense from protesters and all this other racial stuff that's happening around our country, to employment, to just general stress. It is very important for people to just unplug and get away and connect with each other. So that's very, very important.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I want to turn our attention because this is something that I read about a week ago, and you had mentioned something about it, and I was furious. I want to talk about Vox Booker. That was the gentleman who was out with his friends. They were in Indiana, and he cut across somebody's land or part of someone's land to go swimming on the holiday, 4th of July, and was accosted by several white individuals who, one of them, well, maybe two or three of them, from what I understand, from what I could see from the video,
Yeah.
pushed him down, held him towards a tree, and said, "Let's get a rope. We're going to lynch him." And it took some other white people that were with him and with the same group that said, "Let him go," and told the other people that he was with to let him go. Kelly, is this 2020 or are we back in 1957?
Well, let's put it in perspective. Yes, this is like 2020, but when Donald Trump has a big campaign about make America great again, this is what he was talking about, 1957. That's when white people thought it was really great. So they're trying to bring that back. And I think when you hear the rhetoric they say about this is all Obama's fault, yeah, in a way it is, because President Obama scared them into thinking that they had no role in the future. It's like they went up, like a lot of their grandfathers said there'll never be a black man a president. Guess what? A black man was a president. That shocked them to death.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're seeing is white fear.
Mm-hmm.
And white fear manifests itself in a whole lot of different ways, especially when you come down to white privilege. They're going to really try to hold on to that. And that's what Donald Trump is. And that's what the government's been kind of setting themselves up for, to get Donald Trump in to reaffirm white people that white privilege will still carry on, but we're not going to have that.
Absolutely. You know, it's funny that you say that, because I got into an argument with a high school classmate of mine who swore up and down that President Obama was a Muslim, that whenever he would have a press conference and he was talking about the kids of Sandy Hook, that he had put something on his finger and had touched his eye, and that's what made him cry. They were not genuine tears, and that President Trump is everything that is the opposite of President Obama. And I thought, okay, so let's analyze this for a minute. President Obama was married to one woman.
Yeah.
He's not a criminal. He's highly educated, 2 Ivy League schools. His wife is highly educated. His children are brilliant. He has children by the same woman. But when we contrast Donald Trump, we get 3 wives, children by different mothers.
Absolutely.
I believe it's 6 bankruptcies. Yeah. And the thing that always was the issue for me, you blamed Central Park 5 for something that did not happen, and you went after them maliciously for years, for something that was not their fault. And you tormented and you terrified and you traumatized these young men, and they lost chunks of their life because of it. And I guess you're right when we say that when Trump came into office, that was part of it, the whole Make America Great Again. And we all know that. And certainly most African Americans, when he got in office, drew a gasp and went, oh, what's going on? Are we back here again? We knew it was bad. We didn't think it was this bad. I guess part of my issue is now it's so open and blatant. And, you know, we've come off of George Floyd. We've come off of Rashard Brooks. We've come off of Breonna Taylor. We've come off of Ahmaud Arbery. We've come off of Eric Gardner. We've come off Trayvon Martin and Mike Brown. And we could keep going on and on. Sandra Bland. So many names. And it's like, when is enough enough?
Well, truth be told, we haven't come off of any of it. That pain is still here. That's part of mental health. You know, I still feel it. All those people, you know, I just can't say, you know, men and women, you know, there's brothers, sisters, everybody, you know. My family back in Mississippi fought for civil rights. There's a road named Greene Road because of it, you know. So I think by these times, so I kind of go back to those stories, they used to tell me how they fought it and how they endured it, and how, you know, when you look at things, our children went through a stage of kind of peace, you know, where it wasn't so blatant. So a lot of people kind of forgot this was around. Donald Trump came in and showed everybody how much of around it still is. And we had to hit that head on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Are you, because you're a father, are you having conversations with your son about different things that are going on? Have you had the talk?
Oh yeah, definitely. Especially since he graduated from high school this year, and you know, for high school seniors everywhere, it was not the ideal, you know, prime. You know, his prom got canceled. They had, you know, so a lot of, well, you know, I'm quite sure, like, you know, myself and like yourself, our senior year, I was the party, I was the send off, and for these, you know, high school seniors, it was nothing but. So I use that to kind of fold in and talk about racism, what's going on, that times change. Sometimes, you know, steadily, sometimes like now, dramatically. And you have to be ready for it, regardless of what happens. And you got to prepare yourself for it.
How are you helping him cope with this in mental health? Because you talked about disconnecting yourself with your girlfriend and being able to spend time away. How do you encourage your son to disconnect and give himself a sense of peace amidst all of this craziness that's happening?
Well, we watch old movies together, and so that's our time. We watch sports and old movies together. You know, especially I'm down here now in the man cave. So this is kind of our space. And when we're in our space, you know, the outside is outside, but we protect our space. You know, this is like our clubhouse, our den. This is our space. So we were down here, we were watching old movies, we talking, we're vibing. So and we rubbed off on each other. So that's good.
That is a good thing. It's especially important to protect your space, whether it's mentally, physically, and spiritually, because you need to be in balance with all to be able to function safely. I want to quickly go back to, we had initially started talking about masks and sort of deflected to what we were talking about now. You said that you saw a lot of people wearing masks. Have you seen people confront each other? Because to me, it's just an interesting thing that people are saying that science is wrong, that science doesn't know what it's talking about. And you have people legitimately comparing wearing a mask to slavery.
Well, the thing about it though, I tell everybody, my stepmom passed from COVID.
Oh,
So,
wow.
when you look at somebody says science, and let's go back to where that speech coming from. It's coming from Donald Trump and the racists and their agenda, like open schools. They want kids to go to schools with this going on. So that should tell you everything right there. It's just one of those things you gotta say, hey, you know what? Stop it. Just do it for somebody else. Don't do it for yourself. Do it for other people.
Mm-hmm.
You may not get affected with it directly, but other people are. So just don't do it for yourself. Do it for other people.
Absolutely. So I'm going to put a pin in that and I'm going to leave that right there. And I want to switch gears because another hot topic that has been trending on social media, where it was like, I saw a pandemic and then I saw Will and Jada. And Will and Jada and their situation with the young man named August. I haven't had the time to sit down and listen, but I've had so many people who have sort of given me their armchair response, broken it down. I've seen all the memes. I've heard a little bit from Will. I've heard a little bit from Jada. What is your takeaway from this entire situation?
My takeaway really is until you've been married, you really don't have no frame of reference for what those two are dealing with. So let's just start right there. Until somebody says, here's my last name, here's a ring, here's all my stuff. It's not just, we're together as boyfriend and girlfriend and we break up, we just take our stuff. Even if you've been in the same house, you just can't okay, we break up, you go your way, I go my way. It ain't that simple, in marriage. So when I saw Will's face, I was sitting in Will's spot. I know what that feel like. So I really turned it off because I didn't want whatever those people are dealing with, I didn't want that even in my energy. So that's kind of like how I looked at it. Like, I don't respect their face because even when I see pictures of Will and it reminded me of myself, it's like, I hate to see it, but for the first time, women get to see it in a man's face. I know you see all the TV show about the man's cheating, all the time, the stuff about the man cheating. But for the first time, you saw it in reverse, and it's like, it doesn't look right, but we had to face it. It's one of those like revealing things that, a lot of people joke about it, but that was real emotion, regardless of them being famous. But that's still wrong, and I think we learn a lot from that.
So I know enough to be able to talk about it. So Jada had an affair with a young man who was her children's age, which for me is troubling. But it's not a bad thing if you're not married. But number two, he was supposed to have come from a broken home, was mentally troubled or depressed, and she was supposed to help him cope. So that's problematic in itself because it almost seems as if she preyed upon him.
Yeah,
or maybe
predatory.
Right. Or maybe because she had her own issues that she allowed it to go someplace that it shouldn't have. And it sounds like he developed feelings and got on Twitter or on social media and started talking when he shouldn't have. But I want to go back to something that you said, Kelly. You said, unless you're married, because there are some people who will say, well, we've been living together for 10 years and we got 4 kids together and 2 dogs and 2 cats and 2 cars and we paying a mortgage. What's the real difference beyond just saying because I took somebody's thing?
Well, ask anybody who's been divorced. Right there.
Good answer.
And I can tell you, when you leave somebody's house and y'all just together, you just pick up and leave, and the worst you have to do is, pay child support. I lost everything. You made some major legal, connections when you married. So that in and of itself is not just up and leave. Can't do that. If you're not married, you can do that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to come back to that in a minute. I want to hear your thoughts because Will said something that I thought was profound, which is why I specifically wanted to ask you this question. He said, it is a miracle that I am sitting here talking to you, Jada. And I thought, ooh, that's powerful. Because I sort of bought into is this just a ratings thing for her show? Are they doing it just for attention to help their brand? This does seem to have the hallmarks of something that was real. And we all have, sort of a behind the curtain view of the inner workings of their marriage.
Right. But it's just that that's when you're a man and you see the look in his face,
mm-hmm.
and you've been in that position, you understand the depths of that hurt. Because it's like women all around you will say, guys, to have these younger women and cheating on their wife and all that. And when we're swerving down, they don't do it until they see a superstar woman do it. Now it's like, oh my God, it's a shock moment. Mm-hmm. And I think that women need to see the pain in Will's face. They needed to see that. Because they may not, they scoff at whatever they believe how men treat women. That's the other effect. Mm-hmm. And there are some men who haven't healed from that. And there are some men who say, well, the miracle is any other man would have killed her. We had, what's the girl just got shot the other day, the rap girl, because I'm not a rap fan, but
Megan, was it Megan?
Yes. Yeah. Megan Thee Stallion just got shot. So you talk about that's the opposite end of red table talk, or the extreme reason. So you talk about a man's mentality when he's been hurt. That's a hard, and I haven't been through it myself and build myself back up. That's one of the things I'm real big on talking to other men about. Yeah, I felt that hurt, but here's how you get by it or get through it, because it doesn't go away. You just gotta push through it, empower yourself.
So, Kelly, you suffered through infidelity in your marriage. You have been public and have talked about that. How did you get through that? Because, I'm listening to you, and it's not that it's different because it happens to a man. It's just, I think you guys process things differently than women do. Or am I incorrect?
A lot of times you're kind of incorrect. We process it, but when you talk about the inner workings, of marriage, and when other people, cut in, there's a broken trust. So you have in your mind if trust was fixing, or I'm gonna leave it alone. Fixing trust is hard. That's when you find out if you love somebody or not. So when Will sitting across from Jada says a miracle, that's him trying to fix the trust. And if you talk to any woman, you talk about when her feelings are hurt, and talk about how much she lost trust for that man, it's that same kind of break. There's only two roads you can go to it. She can say, I'm going to fix it, I'm going to walk away from it. You got your point. So like, okay, you know what? So walk away.
If you were speaking to a group of men and they were going through horrible divorces and it was due to infidelity, what is one thing that you would suggest to men to help them get through that?
Well, I look at it like this and say, was the trust that was broken worth fixing, or is it worth fixing? Because until you go out of court and sign, you still got a cushion between. I think it's a cool off period or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So there are some hard decisions up through there. Now I don't know how and with each situation is different. But I think for us to have to go out and be accused of cheating, the typical man, toxic women mentality towards men, and then for the reverse happen to you, that's a hard pill to swallow. Because you got society on you like, hey, you're just a man, take it, that's what happens, like an old blues record. But what old blues records don't tell you the pain up underneath that, and that's when men snap, you get domestic violence. So I'm trying to steer men past that. It gets greater later, The man you are is still ahead of you. Just concentrate on that.
So you just said it gets greater later. Talk a little bit about that. Talk about hope after the hurt.
Well, think about it. Where I'm at now, I just took a chance, And I tell anybody, I was just wanting some company one day, and I had known her, through passing, like, let's go out and have some coffee. That turned into a year, some change later, and we're in love. We're enjoying life, and my finances are rebounding. But what I had to do is concentrate on the man that I wanted to be. So I had to push. So I know the man I want to be was on the other side of the pain, the hurt, the lonely nights, all that stuff. So whatever happened is the past. I think I have a blow up. Matter of fact, I'm gonna repost it soon. So I was just thinking about it the other day, called "The Beginning of Everything," where I talk about my divorce and how it hit bottom, and I was just at the beginning of everything. That wasn't the end of who I was. That was just the beginning. So look at your divorce as the beginning of everything, beginning of man you're going to be.
So I'm hearing you say that even though it feels like you can hit rock bottom, your marriage can fall apart, you can lose the trust, or not that you did it, but that your ex-wife did it, jeopardize the trust that you had, lose your finances, lose all the things that tangibly make you feel like the person that you are. But that if you do the work, push through, heal yourself, which includes therapy, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Which includes therapy. Absolutely. Say it again for the men in the back.
Yes, fellas, you will not be able to do it without therapy. Let me emphasize that. Therapy keeps you out of prison. Just take that from me to you. Therapy keeps you out of prison.
And so when you use therapy and healthy methods, you can reclaim yourself and find the person that you're supposed to be on the other side. Is that right?
Absolutely. I did it, and I'm not going to tell you to do something I wasn't willing to do myself. So, fellas, I did it. I walked it, lost everything. I think the only thing I got left from my marriage is maybe these glasses.
Wow.
But, and because the clothes I had don't fit anymore. I lost about 40 pounds. I got my health together, eating right. I got a bike, so I'm on my bike. Got therapy, read books. So I had to work on me. It was not a I hate her session for years. It was, that was her. This is me from going on forward. So I just want to tell you, fellas, that was her. You goes forward. So Get your health, get your health together. Get you some books to read. Get therapy. You'll pan out. You start to see yourself better down the line.
Excellent, Kelly. That's why I love talking to you. You are our mental health advocate. Tell us how we can find out more about you, and do you have any new projects coming up?
I'm working on a few things now. I took a break from writing. Just during quarantine, I didn't write anything. I did my health. I did my bike. I bought a tent, so I sit outside. I did all the self-help things. So I think now I'm starting to post and write things about the effects. So you can find that on my blog, soulfulpages.com. You can also find me on Twitter at Kelly G Live, and that's Instagram, Twitter, Kelly G Live 72. So that's where you can find me. Also on Facebook, everywhere. You can find me anywhere. I'll be spreading my love soon.
Thank you so much, Kelly Greene, for being on the Kim B. Davis Show. We so appreciate you. Thank you for sharing your story and for continuing to keep us up to date. You've been watching the Kim B. Davis Show. I hope to see you on our next episode. And remember, always be magnificent.
Thank you.